Saturday afternoon, October 12th, and we had our Project Home workshop this morning. This is Jocelyn.
Hi, this is Daniel.
We just wanted to start doing our videos again, and I mentioned earlier on a Facebook post about this week being Mental Health Week. That's so frustrating to me and for us because of what we do here. But it's just 1 week is definitely not enough to talk about mental health. Mental health is something that should be talked about every day. How many day? 357, 300 and who what?
65, I believe.
Yeah. 365 days out of the year, and we only get 7 days to talk about something so serious as mental health. Mental health has no color, no size, no shape to it whatsoever. And it has everything to do with the core of all of the different situations we deal with on a daily. Today's workshop, we talked about conversation and the importance of having conversations with our children, with our families, everyone, when we're dealing with different kinds of emotions. I'm going to give Daniel a minute here very shortly, but I just really wanted to just talk about the importance of words and what kind of words we're using, what kind of language we're using when we talk with our children. There was a incident this week, a learning incident that happened this week with my little one. And in that, it was really walking through and talking through an entire process of emotions. And what happens when we're in the peak of our emotion, which is usually either sadness, anger, or fear. One of those three. The peak of those are learning to either have that conversation with yourself if you're dealing with it by yourself, or having those conversations with your children when they're dealing with things and you truly know they're in the peak of their emotions and peak of their feelings because you're in them too. And being able to talk through from the beginning to the end of situations, and even going into what would have happened if, and look what happened because. Just having those conversations is something that's truly, truly important.
Hi again. I think that a lot of us have a general idea nowadays of what mental health is. I just think that we may be using the wrong words, because when we talk about mental health, it can be posed as a bad stigma, like just a bad word. I know that when I was growing up, we never talked about mental health. Like whenever my mom and my dad would argue, or whenever my dad would come home drunk, not one time the conversation was poor mental health. It was just, abuse and trauma, and we just had to deal with it as children to figure out how not to get whooping during that time. And nowadays, it's beautiful because we're able to look back and reflect. Well, I am, and able to talk about those things in an environment which can allow healing to take place. And so what I want to tell you is that if the word mental health is a bad word for you due to your personal experiences or your current situations, you can use other words too to describe how you think and feel. There's other ways of using the word mental health without using the word mental health. Like, for me, I can be honest with you and say these past few weeks I've been dealing with poor mental health. Poor mental health to me is like not understanding the basic fundamentals of what makes me me. Like recently, a situation happened where my son came into play. I haven't had him in my life for a period of time. Long story short, his mother moved him to Texas, and I didn't know where he was at. And so that put a mental strain on me. And then he came back all of a sudden. He's 15 now. And so now I'm dealing with my life plus his life as well. And so in my mind, I'm saying, okay, I'm the happiest person in the world right now because I have all my children with me. Hey, DJ, you can come around if you want. Yeah, and at the same time, now I'm like, okay, well, I have to really look at what I can and cannot do. So I enrolled him in high school and all, and he's into sports, and so I got him going, and I do my best to feed him, and all of that in turn is great mental health in one aspect, but I haven't really been thinking about myself lately to the point where I've been letting some things slide. Like, I can tell, me religiously, what makes me feel good is just being in a clean environment, where I can enjoy certain smells and life, and so in my little room, it's a little clustered because now I'm not only dealing with one pile of dirty clothes, I'm dealing with two. And then not only am I dealing with the idea of keeping myself up, like normally I keep myself groomed and I'd wash my feet every night before I go to sleep. Like, I thought it was just a biblical term that was like loosely used as far as washing of the feet, where everybody was showing humbleness and by washing each other's feet. But I didn't realize that hygiene was important back then too. And so ever since my son came, I haven't been doing that. Now it's just, hey, let me smell my feet. It smells all right. Let me get in the bed, call it a day. And it just takes a while for me to realize that, hey, now I don't even smell the smell anymore until I first walk in there, that, hey, my bed smells like feet now. And so that's like my indicator, right, that I'm dealing with poor mental health, because if I was to invite somebody into my environment, that smell would then be a memory for them, saying that can associate to who I am, and that's not. So today is the day that I'm definitely going to clean house. I'm going to enjoy going to the laundromat, washing my clothes. I'm going to enjoy teaching my son the importance of washing our feet every night before we lay down. And that's ways that we can figure out how to turn the switch. Now, that's just a small example for me. There's other examples on what mental health means for you. It could be dietary choices, choosing to eat healthier. It could be something as far as wanting to go out and walk and enjoy life, just to look at things or have conversations with your neighbors. That's really big, because we can tend to isolate ourselves. Like, I can tend to isolate myself thinking that to our own little spot is where safety is, but really that's not the case, because the outside, while we're isolating ourselves, are looking at us like we're the bad people, that they need to watch out for us because they're talking and we're not. And then just like that, a table can turn where the ones that are isolating themselves are now the targets. And so it's definitely to really have an idea of saying, if I want to express proper mental health, well, obviously I should communicate and get to know people around, so I'll know who I can connect with, who I can't connect with. And then also just learning about loving yourself in different ways besides spending money on yourself. Because we got into that mindset of saying that mental health means money, and however much money you got means however much more proper mental health you got, because you can do more things, and that's not necessarily the case. You can really, if you put a magnifying glass on certain situations or individuals and say how you got your money, then you would have another idea as far as what mental health is. But it's not to put any negatives onto nobody. It's just to say that together we can actually use different words to describe mental health. We can actually figure out ways to make things work to where we are doing things in a unified sense of saying, hey, we got resources. Hey, we can come together. Hey, let me help you, and then you can help me. Because if one person keeps helping and helping and helping and nothing's being received, nothing's being reciprocated, that can actually mean a sign of poor mental health, because you're being drained constantly, and next thing you know, you don't have anything, and then no one's there to help you, and then now you're blaming, now you're hateful, now you become more isolated because you're like, well, forget everybody. But in actuality, in your mind, you could be actually going through a suicide mode, to where you thought that being helpful was the key. But if you're not in a mind state of saying, hey, we're doing this because we're trying to do this together, versus I'm trying to hold the world on my shoulders, then you're not really doing nothing but handing people fish. And in the Bible, it teaches the importance of teaching somebody to fish versus handing them out. Like, I understand to hand somebody a fish in the beginning, but afterwards you should definitely want to teach the idea. And so we can teach each other what proper mental health is and what it can mean. Even though every day our situations change, we may feel good one day, we may feel bad the next day. We should have like self checks, like overall, what was the week like? Overall, what was the month like versus day to day? And that way we can have an evaluation of saying, hey, where the goal is, I want to go towards this idea versus, even though I'm thinking this way, the actions are resulting me going the opposite way.
Oh, I love that. He walked right into the segue of checking your engine light. That was something that Daniel actually started. And that's huge because that's that piece of checking your mental health. Check that engine light. That happens very often. It should be every day. Making sure you're okay when you wake up in the morning, kind of having different thoughts and different conversations. It's good to do that. If you don't have someone to talk that through, journal. But learning to talk through things and think through things. And then with that, you are the example to parents. You are that example for your children. One of the things today I actually showed the video with DNA is Not Destiny. And one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was there's a portion that talks about environmental toxins. Our communities right now, in a lot of different ways, are environmentally toxic through behaviors of our community, sometimes behaviors from each other, which goes into anger and stress management. But that environmental toxin, that's huge, and that's a big thing, and it's something to be aware of. You can be environmentally toxic yourself, just with your thoughts and with your actions. And our children, remember, our children are watching everything we do. Even though as they get older, we'll act like they're not. They're paying attention. Sometimes I see it with our children that are growing up or little ones that I've known for a long time, seeing them with their language, knowing just like certain things that used to happen. Well, now they're evolving and utilizing a lot of that language that was really tried to be stopped, but it happens because of the environment, because of what they've been exposed to. And it's not being negative, not pointing any fingers, nothing like that, but it's just about being aware. And that's the biggest thing that we talk about. We want to make sure nobody's pointing fingers, nobody's placing blame, because there needs to be a place where it's safe to talk about, hey, wait a minute, I think I did that. Wait a minute, I think that's happening. And then change it. Once you become aware of it, the whole thing comes back to fixing and working on your environment.
Mm-hmm. And so I ain't going to talk too much because I know we're going to run out of time. And we can probably make 2 or 3 short videos versus one gigantic one. And so I know that's probably more beneficial. And what I would tell you is that the whole idea of a toxic environment is to create implosions in our neighborhoods where everybody's going against each other. And then all of a sudden a magical parachute floats down to only save 1 or 2 people out of tens and thousands or hundreds of thousands. And so that's not, the way to do it. But I understand that's the environment that we're in. And it really takes us to want to show with action that we want us all to succeed, because we can. We just have to really look at ourselves, with that mental health microscope or that evaluation system that we can all create for ourselves. Just even if it's just having conversations with our mom or our sister, brother, friend, dad, whoever, and just venting, just something that's bothering you, and just letting it out, no matter how good or how bad it is. That can really be helpful, because when the situation comes again, you won't have all that negative energy that you had built up thinking about it, because you released it. And so we have to really enjoy that idea. And that's a part of mental health as well, where you can just enjoy telling your truths and just letting it out, and just not expecting, a reward or an award for the best story. But it's just an idea of just saying whatever bags you're holding on to, you're just dropping it. And the goal is to walk away from it and leave your problems at the altar, and not look back. Well, I see now I'm going back to another idea, and we, I understand, I don't want to say that my mind frame is 100% on that, but you can look it up for yourself and see that there's hidden gems throughout that book that can be very helpful. And so I'm going to slow it down now. I just want to let everybody know that I appreciate y'all for thinking about us, for supporting us, however you can, even if it's just through watching. We're going through our ups and downs here at Ramrock, where we're not getting the things that we want and that we would like to see happen for our neighborhoods. But in hindsight, we had our conversations and we understand why. And then that is because we don't have the support from our neighborhoods that we would like. And other organizations are getting help and benefits from private funders or grants and donations, and we're just missing the mark. And it seems like we continue to miss the mark every year, and we know why, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. We just know that in order for this to really happen, where we can be the forefront of this idea of change, we would need the support of other people. And if our neighborhoods and communities was to come together, then it would be where everybody can just help out a little without even saying a word as to who they are, if they want to be anonymous or not, just a little. But when it's a situation where one person does it, it really seems like they have to do the whole thing by themselves, and now all the attention's put on them, and now they feel like they don't want to, because they don't want the negative energy that comes with being the only one that did it, So what I'm saying is that if you would like to be a part of this, we have our website, and there's ways that you can reach out to us, which can allow us to do more things, than what we're doing now. Because I understand that one thing about these videos is that they're all good and everything. You do get a visualization of us and how we are. But at one point in time, in the future, all these videos can be erased with the push of a button.
Yeah.
And that meant everything that we worked hard for, everything that we're projecting, can now easily be erased versus everything written down on paper and kept in books. And so I say that to say, we should take advantage of this opportunity that we're able to use the internet and connect with videos and all that, but just know how fragile it is, because we're not able to protect it. It's free. So therefore, we don't own it. So therefore, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So we should definitely use this platform knowing that we have to figure out ways to save it, to keep it in circulation. And by saving it, it doesn't mean record, just saying, hey, let me record it. Some people can do it, but what I mean is just by keeping it in circulation, keeping the comments, keeping the stories being, sharing your stories with others and your families and passing it down. Therefore, we can stay ahead of the curve. So I'm done with this video. Now, thank you for listening.
Thank you. God bless, and have a blessed rest of the weekend.
Now before you push that button, do you want to tell them the website address?
Oh, sure. Our website is just the name of the center, the Robert A. Miller, www. The Robert A. Miller Educational Resource Center. All one word. It's long, but the Robert A. Miller Educational Resource Center.com.
And then, hey, check it out. I even got the shirt on. Look, damn.
There we go. It's backwards.
Well, they can see something. One word. There you go.
It's all one word. The Robert A. Miller Educational Resource Center. God bless.
All righty.